Welcome back to CIA Declassified. Tehran, Iran, August 1953. The streets are a war zone. Thousands of people are screaming for the blood of Prime Minister Mosaddegh. To the world, it looks like a spontaneous popular uprising, a nation reclaiming its destiny. But if you look behind the curtain into a small room in the U.S. Embassy, you'd see a man named Kermit Roosevelt. He isn't holding a gun. He's holding a ledger and a bag of cash. This was Operation AJAX. Those rioters, many of them were on the agency's payroll. The pro-Shah newspapers, their headlines were written in Washington. This was the day the CIA realized they didn't need to win a war to change the world. They just needed to control the street. The declassified Wilbur report, the CIA's own internal history of the coup, reveals the clinical precision of the operation. The CIA allocated a budget of $1 million to bring down Mosaddegh. The agency utilized black propaganda to turn the public against him. They hired actors to pose as members of the two-day Communist Party and instructed them to vandalize mosques and beat up elderly citizens, ensuring the religious conservatives in Tehran would blame Mosaddegh for the chaos. A quote from Donald Wilbur, CIA strategist, overthrow of Premier Mosaddegh, 1954. The military plan was only one part of the whole. The psychological campaign was designed to create such a state of public fear and uncertainty that the military would feel compelled to intervene as the saviors of the nation. We bought the editors, we bought the mobs, and eventually we bought the results, end quote. The agency's most effective asset was a man known as Shaban Jafari, nicknamed the Brainless. He was a powerhouse in the Tehran Zorkhaneh traditional gymnasiums. The CIA paid him to lead a mob of weightlifters and street toughs to storm the Prime Minister's house, providing the muscle for the spontaneous revolution. Operation AJAX was not solely the American venture. It was a joint operation with the British Secret Intelligence Service, known as M16. The British codenamed their side operation Boot. The coordination took place in Cyprus, where radio transmitters were set up to broadcast coded messages into Iran, signaling to underground stay-behind networks that the coup was officially underway. To ensure the Shah's cooperation, the CIA sent his sister, Princess Ashraf Pahlavi, to meet him. She was initially reluctant, but after being contacted by CIA and CIS agents in the French Riviera, she flew to Tehran to convince her brother that the West would support him if he dismissed Mosaddegh. The royal pressure was a crucial pivotal point in the agency's internal logistics. A quote from Winston Churchill, 1953. The news from Tehran is most heartening. It's a lesson in how a resolute policy backed by the necessary means of persuasion can restore order to a region drifting toward the Soviet abyss. End quote. Churchill's private satisfaction highlighted the geopolitical stakes, the fear that Mosaddegh nationalization of oil would lead to a communist takeover. The operation nearly failed on August 15th when the first attempt to arrest Mosaddegh was thwarted. The Prime Minister's loyalist guards were tipped off and the Shah fled to Baghdad and then Rome. Kermit Roosevelt ignored orders from Washington to evacuate, instead doubling down on the street plan to salvage the mission through sheer chaos. A key technological component was the use of Bedouin radio sets. These were high-frequency portable transmitters that allowed CIA officers in the field to communicate with the embassy without using local telephone lines, which were being monitored by Mossaddegh's security forces. This was one of the first times clandestine radio was used to coordinate urban rioting in real time. While the street mechanics are well known, the files regarding the clerical cooperation remain under heavy ink. The heaviest redactions follow the names of the high-ranking Ayatollahs who allegedly accepted CIA funding. There is heavy speculation that the agency paid millions to the influential Ayatollah Khashoggi to issue fatwas against Mosaddegh. The theories suggest the redactions protect the legacy of religious figures whose descendants still hold power in modern Iran. Further speculation surrounds the British oil handoff. Analysts believe the redacted pages detail a secret agreement where the CIA took over British intelligence networks in Tehran in exchange for a percentage of future Iranian oil profits. The speculation is that the Cold War was a cover for a massive corporate resource grab that the agency still refuses to fully acknowledge. There are sections of the declassified files where entire pages are blacked out regarding the, quote, Z network, end quote. Historians speculate this refers to a list of stay-behind paramilitary groups trained by the CIA to conduct guerrilla warfare if the Soviets had intervened. If these groups remained active after 1953, their identities would be an explosive secret, potentially linking the agency to decades of undocumented violence in the region. Another area of intense redaction involves the, quote, Rome protocols, end quote. While we know the Shah fled to Rome, the logs of who met him at the hotel remain classified. Speculation suggests that high-level members of the Italian government and perhaps the Vatican were utilized as intermediaries to pass messages between the CIA and the exiled monarch, a web of international collusion that would still be a diplomatic nightmare if revealed. Was Operation AJAX a success? In the short term, an absolute triumph. Mosaddegh was arrested and the Shah was restored to the peacock throne as a staunch Western ally. A quote from Kermit Roosevelt, Countercoup. It was a unique operation. We changed a government with almost no loss of life and at a minimal cost. It proved that the third way, clandestine political action, was the future of the Cold War, end quote. In the long term, many historians argue it was the agency's greatest failure. The coup planted the seeds of anti-American sentiment that led directly to the 1979 Islamic Revolution. The success of 1953 created a blueprint for intervention that the CIA would replicate in Guatemala and Vietnam, with increasingly disastrous results. The immediate aftermath saw the creation of SOVAC, the Shah's brutal secret police. The CIA provided the initial training for SOVAC officers, teaching them interrogation and surveillance techniques. The operational link between the CIA and a regime known for human rights abuses became a cornerstone of anti-Shah rhetoric for the next 25 years. Operation AJAX established the regime change playbook. As far as operational breakthroughs go, the pseudo-mob protocol. The agency perfected the art of hiring professional protesters and providing them with pre-printed placards and specific chant leaders to stimulate a popular movement. Economic sabotage logs. The CIA utilized currency manipulation to artificially inflate the price of bread in Tehran just days before the coup, ensuring the urban poor were angry and ready to riot. Rapid print shop deployment. The agency established secret mobile printing press in Tehran that could churn out thousands of anti-government flyers in under an hour, bypassing state-controlled media. And the safe house circuit. The CIA developed a network of safe houses across Tehran that allowed agents to move key Iranian military figures through the city undetected during the height of the martial law, a tactic now standard in all clandestine extractions. Kermit Roosevelt left Tehran as a hero in Washington. He had proven that you don't need an army to conquer a country. You just need to know how to ignite a bazaar. But the fires he lit in 1953 are still burning today. Next time on CIA Declassified, we move from the streets to the psyche. We examine Project Mercury. How do you predict what a world leader will do before they do it? We'll look at the declassified logs of the CIA's early psychological profiling, from analyzing the childhood of dictators to the remote diagnosis of the Kremlin's elite. We explore the day the agency tried to put the world leaders on the couch. Join us for the mind of the king. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archive.